Hello, and welcome to Movie of the Year, the only podcast on the internet that has the science and the screaming to determine what is the single greatest movie of any given year. That year, right now, is 1984. We're doing it. Oh my God, we're almost done. And usually I'm so happy to be done with these stupid seasons and get on to the next one. This one, guys, this is going to be a sad one for me. I'm going to miss 1984 so much. I think we've got just a couple more episodes after this. I hope they're all good. I hope tonight's is good. We'll see. Let me introduce the panelists, and then you at home, guys, you determine whether tonight's episode is going to be good. Our first panelist is, of course, Greg.
Yeah, I'm also going to be sad when 1984 is over. Every movie has been better than I expected it to be. Even movies I was familiar with, watching them for the show, they've been like a notch better than I remembered. And I was not expecting a ton out of this movie, but this movie was a lot better than I expected it to be as well. Ryan,
have not asked you about the movie yet.
Sorry, I know. Sorry, that's a hint. That's a teaser.
People don't even know what the movie is.
It's a teaser. I'm just teasing it.
Give Andy and Mike some points there,
Yikes.
Or give the two strangers points. Nobody even knows who the other panelists are.
You blew it now.
Okay, I'll give myself a point there. Mike, you are here. Mike, how are you?
I'm here. I am so excited to continue to be here and talk about films
that's enough.
that matter.
That's
He's
it.
scared. You spooked him. He's afraid to say anything now.
Well, yeah, I mean, Greg said something about the movie, so I wanted to, but I was like, that's unwise, clearly. Who knows what movie we'll be talking about, but let's just, a little tease. I feel differently than Greg.
Oh, wow. So Mike watched this movie with his wife.
I thought we were going to get the full Mike. This is the best movie we have done for the season. I literally thought he might say that it was the best movie we had done for the season.
Mike, why don't, instead of you talking to us about the movie, like Greg so foolishly did, why don't you tell me about your time spent with the Marvel Movie Minute podcast?
Every year or so, I am cordially invited to join the cast of the Marvel Movie Minute and break down a minute of film per episode. Each episode, I think, is 45 minutes, as it should be. And it is delightful. And it makes me think, and anytime we're like, wow, our episodes are long. No, guys. No, they aren't. We could be doing the Boogaloo Minute.
That sounds like one of the fastest dances that I've ever heard of. Who did you do this podcast with? It wasn't me. It wasn't Greg.
It was not. I did contractually, if you look at the Pop Filter contracts, I'm allowed to do a movie podcast with two other film aficionados once a year. So that is once a year I join. Pete Wright, who joined us on Terminator, and then should I be building this up? Am I taking the intro from you? Or I'm just saying, and it's a great old time. The last time I was there was about the Avengers. We talked about shawarma.
Oh, Andy.
I'm afraid. You look like pissed at me.
Andy, the non-Pete, is here from Marvel Movie Minute and some of the other True Story podcasts. Andy, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much, Mike. It was always a pleasure to have you join us. And
thank you.
I'm still waiting for pictures of when you finally build or finally paint the mural of that final scene of Avengers in your house, which would be a beautiful fresco. It was a lot of fun talking with you. Marvel Movie Minute has been a very fun podcast. We finished phase 1. We've been a little exhausted. We haven't quite had the motivation yet to kick into phase 2. We feel it may come soon, though. We're feeling positive about
it. To give Mike the shawarma moment, like, that's such a big deal.
Yeah.
Andy. Well, it was. We did a different thing for this final season where usually we would have people pick a stretch of 5 minutes, and that's all they get is like, you're going to pick 16 through 20, but you're picking that because there's one thing you like, and then you got to suffer with 4 other minutes. And this time we were like, you know what? Let's just let people pick whatever minutes they want. And you got to pick 5 minutes, or maybe not, but 5 was the maximum. And we just kind of threw it out there and let people pick whatever they wanted. And Mike zeroed in on that shawarma pretty quick. He grabbed that before anyone else could. But it was a great conversation.
And I haven't had a chance to listen yet, but Greg, you said you love those episodes.
Those are among my favorite episodes. You know, I'm a big shawarma guy.
Yeah, you don't like Marvel or the Avengers or movies, but shawarma, man.
Well, yeah, shawarma's delicious.
It's all about the
locked
shawarma.
in during that part. The whole rest of the movie, I'm like, this is a schnorr. But they get around to the shawarma near the end, and I'm like, this is what we're here for.
And it took a long time in that movie to get to there.
But I had a lot of faith that it would happen.
Did you guys see
43 episodes? Yeah.
You use the term episode to say minute now. That's awesome. All right, kids, 15 more episodes of TV and then straight to bed. Do you guys see that movie theaters are now, they have a post outside that say what movies have mid-credit, end-credit, or no credit scenes? Just so you know when you're purchasing your ticket. Yeah. That's kind of handy, right?
Wow. I'm glad because like there's no worse feeling than you're like sitting there and you're like, should I just take out my phone and Google it?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I always Google it every time.
What do I do?
And you shout it out to the theater and everybody cheers for you.
Although it would ruin the experience of which movie was it where at the end you wait for the whole credits to go and it's just Captain America and he's like, sometimes things don't pay off. He just like walks away and you're like, ah.
Have we all seen Inside Out 2 in the end credit scene?
No, I have not seen Inside Out 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so, as far as I'm concerned, you can say whatever you want about it, bud.
That's all right. It was one of the most, and we'll get into it a year from now when it's in spoiler territory, but one of the most disappointing end credit scenes for a particular reason. Andy, let's
do
start
all the emotions just beat to death Bing Bong?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, they put on LAPD costumes and beat the hell out of Bing Bong. Andy, we're going to start with you because the movie that we should get to the show. The movie that we're talking about tonight is Breakin 2, Electric Boogaloo. And just so everybody knows, this movie of the year is a game show / film analysis. So we will be talking about the movie, but the other three will be getting points throughout the show based on whether they come up with good ideas, teach me something about the movie, do a dance on screen. You guys can't see us right now, but everyone is dressed in.
I'm dancing so hard.
It looks more like S&M than breakdance. But
well, this is what we had on hand, Ryan. Okay, sorry.
The overlap between S&M and breakdancing.
Not everybody has dance gear at their house, Ryan.
That's on you. Luckily, we have a shopping spree tonight, Greg, where you might be able to pick some up.
Hey, there you
Andy,
go.
I'm gonna get to you first. Is this the first time you've seen this movie? Has it just been a titular legend? And what did you think of watching it?
This, believe it or not, I'm one of those people who was around when this movie came out, and I saw this in the theater.
Wow!
Hell yeah!
Very popular. Very possibly also saw the first one as well in the theater. I mean, same year, so I'm sure I saw them both in the theater. And then it was one that we had on video and watched all the time. So I've seen this movie many times, although not many times since around the mid 80s when we switched to other things. So this was the first time I returned to it in a long time. And I had a blast watching this. I couldn't tell if it was my nostalgia glasses that I was wearing, but I loved every minute of it. It's so much fun.
I'm so glad that you are on this episode because I think that your time with it, your history with it is definitely necessary. I don't think any of us have seen it before, and it's just the title alone has been played like such a joke for so long that I'm glad that you're going to talk about it. Greg, we'll save Mike for last.
Yeah.
Greg, what'd you think?
I only know the name of this movie. Like I don't even know the movie itself, but the name is like a meme, and then kind of like an unfortunate political meme lately. But more than anything else, it was just an odd title. And I would say the first 15 minutes, I was like, what are we doing here? What is this? But then after I remembered our patron saint, Roger Ebert tells us like we must accept what a movie is trying to do and understand it on those terms.
Every movie sets its own bar.
And after the first 15 minutes, I think the first 15 minutes are awkward anyway, but also it was like I'm trying to get on the same level as the movie. Once I locked into the level of the movie and I feel like I understood why it was being goofy and what it was doing, I don't want to say I was like blown away, but it was just so much fun. It was just so much fun, and it's so colorful, and the performers in it have so much charisma, and it's a unique type of charisma. But it does jump off the screen, and I kind of liked every part of the movie. Like the more the movie was awkward, kind of that enforced my liking of it because it was like I feel like a bunch of friends made this movie, and I don't know if that's true or not. I feel like a bunch of buddies made this movie, and you can feel their esteem for each other. And it's got that like Buckaroo Banzai 1984 extreme weirdness that is really fun. And I just think I unless I am just like looking at it through rose-colored glasses, I think anything you point out in this movie and you say that that's dumb or awkward, the movie seems to be leaning into that to me, honestly. Like, it seems to be very much acknowledging the ways in which it's kind of absurd.
It's what Mike calls 8-miling. I'm going to insult myself before you can do it, like Eminem would do in a freestyle.
Yeah,
rap.
and I think maybe it is a cop-out, ultimately, but I could not get over how fun this movie was.
Well, I could see it as a cop-out if I hadn't seen a million other movies that try to do it and fail.
Yeah.
And so I totally agree with you guys. I thought this movie was a blast. I do think it's fair to give a movie 15 minutes when it's a sequel to a movie you've never seen before, regardless of the style. Like, I went to see Godfather Part 2 in a movie theater, and this guy stood up within 13 minutes, and he was like, I've never seen Godfather Part 1.
Who are
this
these
is
people?
Bullshit.
Oh, my God.
Who is everyone?
To me, it doesn't even... Honestly, though, that wasn't my problem with it. Like, not that I have a problem with the movie, but it was not... I was scratching my head. What's going on here? The movie doesn't even feel like a sequel. It's just...
Oh, yeah.
That's more baffling. You're like, what is the story they told first?
Yeah, the sequel bit is the group that they're fighting against. They have the little dance off with. Like, that's the group that they defeated, quote unquote, in the first movie when those group
Electro Buzz or something like that.
Yeah, they had to have like some little dance off in that one, and then they defeated them. That's why this other group was so mad in this one at them until the very end.
Sense.
So that was the main part, and then they went to some like I don't remember. It was like a dance audition or something, and or contest, and they did their dance, and everyone at first was like, "Oh, this is garbage," and then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, it's actually really good."
Wow, that was kind of visionary considering what the second movie's like.
Well, I have to say that I've never been more relaxed having not seen the first movie while watching the sequel in my entire life as this one. All right, let's get to it.
Hoop the party, Mike.
Mike, what do you think?
There two different things can be true. It was a blast to watch, and I think in a loud, drunken Alamo Drafthouse style theater, it would be so much fun. And that is, I recreated that as much as I could in my household. It was a big, fun group of people drinking. Did you guys have summer stage growing up where like high schoolers put on a show in the summer so like grade school kids can have something to do?
I feel like we have no history with like amateur plays and stage musicals.
This is drawing his hand back to fire off a devastating punch.
It reminded me of summer stage, where you're like, yeah, the more you're like, oh, these kids are working so hard and isn't that fun, and they know it, the more enjoyable it is. But that doesn't mean it's a good movie. It is fun to watch, but
Mike's friends that he had at this party, and by the way, I think when he says he had friends at this party, this watch party, it was full Home Alone style. Cardboard cutouts on frames and like pulling the arms of mannequins in his house. But they all texted me and said, Mike keeps grumbling. This isn't Shawshank Redemption. This isn't Shawshank Redemption at all.
Put on
which is worse. If you said right now, what would you rather watch? Breakin' to Electric Boogaloo will always be before Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Also, can I share some research? The reason they're called the Boogaloo Boys is because Boogaloo is such a meme. They called the lead up to January 6th, and January 6th was American Civil War II, Electric Boogaloo. That's where they got their... What cool dudes.
I just love how no matter how tough they are, they will always do something to prove that they're the dumbest fuckers alive.
Right? Yeah.
All right, we have to get into this movie. I'm so excited to talk about it. I do think that Mike's frown is going to turn all the way upside down by the end of the show. And while it's turning upside down, we'll do the worm somehow. Or that thing where like it touches hands with other parts of his face and like the electricity goes through it. When we come back, Breakin' 2, Electric Boogaloo. On May 4th, 1984, a movie about a rich girl named Kelly meeting two street dancers, Ozone and Turbo, was released and was a smash, grossing $40 million on $1 million budget. 7 months later, that movie, Breakin', would get a sequel, which doubled the budget, made half as much money, and quadrupled the title. Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo would go on to have quite the legacy, not least of which is creating the official subtitle for all sequels from then on out. Back in the Habit and the Legend of Curly's Gold can only worship at the altar of Electric Boogaloo. A title so famous that it's pretty clear it's what got this film into our Sweet 16 bracket over its predecessor, despite Breakin' not only being the original, but considered far better than its sequel. Great work, everyone. The furthering adventures of Kelly, Ozone, and Turbo has the crew attempting to save their dance studio miracles from people who want to tear it down and build a supermarket. Taste buds, I ask you this. We're going to dig deep beneath the surface of this movie throughout the entire show. But first, we have to start with the break-in, the electricity, the boogin and the lugin. Are there enough dance set pieces worth watching to just recommend the movie on those alone? What are the standouts and what are the sit-ins?
I think the first 15 minutes Greg alluded to does a really good job at being like, yes, we are in a Sesame Street type world where everybody has this skill, but I think that you are either in or out at that point. And when the postman is spinning on his head, when the neighborhood kids are double dutching, like,
yeah, what the
no.
It was the old man
These
in the
aren't
red
complaints.
vest with the flat cap.
I'm saying
Okay.
it sets it up what is going to be right away.
Yeah.
And you better kick rocks if you don't like that opening. But
the
so
entire
many
style of
dance
the movie
scenes-
changed to me. Like, that's what was developed because Kelly gets back from her 9 months off of not being in a Breakin movie. And right away, they look at her and the music starts and they're like, hey, Kelly, welcome back. You're here now and your name is Kelly. And I was like, oh, this is a straight up, like, this is a Hollywood musical that we're doing.
Yeah,
And I could have used more of that.
Yeah, everybody knows of it as like a dancing movie, but I was surprised how much of it is just a straight up musical. But that really worked for me, even though I have to say I love this movie. I think it's a lot of fun. I don't feel like I totally get breakdancing, and I don't think like I'm very impressed that the dancers in this can do a lot of the moves they could do, but I just like because I don't know the first thing about it, and I can't really parse it very well. Sometimes it looked really cool, and sometimes I was just like, I don't know that this is enough to carry this scene, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like I would sometimes I did feel like my attention drifted during the longer dance numbers.
Right. Especially when
yeah.
maybe one of the dancers is a mannequin.
Well, they're not Fred Astaire or Gene Kelly, that's for sure. But there is something, and growing up in the generation with the breakdancing and stuff, and there were like I had friends who would do this on our elementary school playground. I mean, not to this level, nowhere near this level.
Because I had friends who would watch Karate Kid and say like, "Oh, I know karate," and then
same thing, exactly. But they would do they did have like they bring their cardboard to school. They would do the back spins. They would do windmills and stuff like that. I mean, the worm, like some of the simpler like floor moves, I guess I'll call them. And so some of them would do head spins, and so it was. And it was kind of like, I don't know, just a cool thing. And I never was able to do any of it, but it was fun to watch. And I think that was the thing that we all enjoyed. And like watching these people who were not that much older than us. I mean, the leads are, but there were plenty of kids in this place who were doing these dances and everything. And it was just kind of cool to see, when they're doing all their pop locking and all their robot and everything. And I don't know, growing up with all of this is like, it was so, easy for us just to watch this and want to imitate exactly what they were doing. It was like it was almost like dancing for us, I guess, as opposed to watching like what my parents were watching when they would watch a musical like Sound of Music or Singing in the Rain or something. Not that
which
I don't
had
love
no
those movies,
breakdancing.
Yeah, no.
Andy, there's one little kid, like an 8-year-old, who I don't know if he has any lines, but he's just like the mascot of the team, and he's dressed like Michael Jackson, little Michael Jackson Jr., and that kid has no idea what would be in store for him if he was to ever meet his idol. Like that would be rough for him.
That kid runs up to
idol?
the surveyors and he's like,
Yeah.
"Are you making a movie? I want to be in it." And it made me wonder if that's how that kid got in the actual.
This kid's got spunk. Put him in.
Put him in the movie.
Listeners of the Superhero Show know that's called Jared Padalecki. So
Yeah.
good job on that. Okay, so Mike, we'll start with you as the hater of this movie, of all movies, and fun in general. Right out the gate, what is the number one most recommendable dance scene if you had to pick one?
Okay, I already talked about the beginning that I loved. I could see either arguments, but I'm obsessed with Turbo's dance scene, his solo dance scene. The one time the director decided to get off their ass. How
have I never seen this in like clip shows and stuff?
You're talking about the rotating house?
Yes, it's a giant rotating house, and the house, like that set looks fun and cool and 80s and bright, right? And they're just like, Turbo, no, he's not Shabadoo. Shabadoo's Ozone. That's Shabadoo's real name.
Turbo's real name is Boogaloo.
Yeah, Turbo's real name is Boogaloo.
Is that true?
Yeah,
Boogaloo Shrimp.
Oh, Boogaloo
Wow.
Shrimp. Yeah.
So he should have had a bigger role in
Andy.
this.
Something that Bubba never the one type of shrimp that Bubba did not mention in Forrest Gump.
But yeah, I think that scene should be in more things. And like the Oscar montages, it should be there. It should be much more known in cinematic history. And this kid can fucking dance.
Part of what I like about that scene is it develops really kind of slowly.
Great.
So the first few moves he does while the room is rotating around him, you're like, oh, like he's dancing in this rotating room, but he's not really comfortable with it. And there's almost like a quality of like a magic act in that, because by the end he like really advances how well he's moving in the rotating room and takes a lot more advantage of it. And so it builds in a nice way. That is a great scene.
Well, and it was creative because he goes around the entire room before he gets to a wall that's all mirrors. And suddenly I'm like, wow, okay, suddenly like it's kind of stepped up, because that was cool seeing him and his reflection dancing on the,
or from
on
the
outside
where it like goes to the outside of the skylight, and then he's dancing on top of it, and like that was a cool shot. It's a cool way to see the dancing.
Or that one accidental shot from the outside where it's just a rotating room.
Yeah,
and, like, oh.
and the director goes shit. Why did we do the ADR for that?
It's also a really good scene because dancing is so performative. That's what we think as non-dancers, but for dancers, it's in your fucking soul. It's your therapy. It's your, I'm alone right now and I have some shit to deal with. I'm gonna fucking dance it out, and I'm gonna dance on this roof. You know?
I have to say that, like, while I don't feel like I totally understand breakdancing as like watching it, I do feel like you can see why doing it feels so good.
Sure.
Like transitioning between all these different types of spins. And
if I went away for a year to learn breakdancing and then came back, would I ever stop doing it?
No. And we would be so over it, even if it were really impressive. Hey, cut it out, man. We're tired of that.
I'm just recording while doing the worm the entire time.
Ryan, leave that cardboard there. Ryan.
I think that the other big standout, we have to. By the way, the trivia. Did we that rotating room where it came from?
Freddy Krueger movie.
Yeah, it was left over from Nightmare on Elm Street, and they were like, "Do you guys want to use this?" And so they just threw it in. Which also, there's a lot of stories like that about this movie that speaks to it's just like, I don't know, get the fuck out there and film. Like,
yes,
we just have to film something. There are so many changes made. The script started without the love plotline, basically, and then they hired these two girls to come in, and rewrite the script. And they were like, can we just make this a movie somehow? Like, could this resemble a movie in any way?
All right, ladies, calm down.
But before I talk about the next scene, I think it's important to note that it was very important that the two producers of Canon Films demanded this movie be G-rated. And so there's no cursing. Everything's pretty tame. And then Turbo falls down some stairs, goes to a hospital, and then we have the hospital dance scene. And gentlemen, I want to talk to you about this for the next hour or two.
Yes.
First of all, shout out to the stuntman who does Turbo's fall and who looks like nothing like Turbo.
Looks closer to the old man who owns Miracles.
No, dude, he totally does. He looks like a 45-year-old dude.
For all we know, he was the old man who ran the club.
He is taking a hard fall. I hope that guy was okay. Like, he fell down a lot of those stairs. There's no faking that.
But yeah, we get into the hospital and all of these dying children come out of closets and they're like, oh shit, are we dancing now? And then 4 sexy nurses come out and
they bring a man back
they're all
to life.
from Enema of a State. The poor nurses dance, and there's one, of course, just like any Halloween story. One is named Head Nurse because why not?
And this is the mean one, right?
Of course.
Probably, who also gets into dancing eventually and is less porny than the other
love
ones.
Her
probably.
Moves. She's got the most unique moves in the entire movie.
But yeah, keep talking about that scene.
The hospital dance scene was my favorite dance scene. I love dance scenes where it's a musical and it starts with a few characters and then more characters come in and then more characters come in and it just slowly builds. Like the first scene was like, for a while, is like my favorite dance of the thing, and then we hit this one, and it's like the same thing, but it just kicked it up that notch. And when we had those sexy nurses come in, and then they kick their legs up at the the docs in the OR with the patient who's dying, and the one doc just like kind of goes into like
first the dance seems to legit
shock.
Kill a guy, and then the dance seems to legit bring that same guy back to life.
It was
the power of dance, life and death.
It was the most fantastic thing ever. I was at the point where I was laughing so much while I was watching that I was in tears. It was like magic happening.
That scene is so long that minutes go by before you have seen a named character that you've been watching. It's so long. You're watching different floors of the hospital dance for so long that you're like, where are Ozone and Special K right now? Like, weren't they dancing at some point?
Right.
I think this brings up an interesting point, too, because I don't think that the two main villains, right? There's like a businessman and a lawyer, are ever around the dancing.
Mike.
And like a lot of the construction workers who are really mean and chase Turbo to get their lunch back, which I get it. I'm working a hard day at construction. I want my lunch back.
Man, they had basically won. Those guys were all going to turn around. They had prevailed in that. Like, that was unnecessary.
But I don't think that they're ever around the actual dancing. And I think that the movie's point of the dancing being infectious, that it will even get into white people that were previously evil and how they just, those two main bad guys could never be around it.
I think we do get a dancing granny in one of these.
Thank God.
Right?
Oh, you're gonna.
So
it's the 80s.
That does prove the power of music can sort of like push you beyond your physical limitations.
It wins over where Kelly's parents want her to go like be part of the ballet in London, but like that's not infectious dancing, and I love ballet, so I'm not here to shit on it. But in the world of this movie, they're like, well, that's respectable dancing, but it doesn't make them groove. But when they finally see her world and her dancing on TV, even these racist fucks get one over.
Yeah. The dad's like, gosh darn it, wife, I think we've been wrong.
Dude,
he even calls his wife Mrs. B.
Yeah.
That's how you know he's cool now.
Right. I love the way movies work where it's just like, well, if we just bring a little attention to this problem, people are going to be like, hey, you know what? We should fix this issue. Yeah, that has been disproven. Like, you can bring all the attention in the world to an issue and people are just like, yeah, I don't know.
Great.
Good luck
It's
with
fake.
the whole thing.
I mean,
Miracles isn't real.
All right, any more specific
Can I
scenes?
give a shout out to another dance scene?
Yes, please.
You
interrupted that question.
Yeah, I was like, don't let him ask the question before you start giving your answer. It's kind of a mix of dance and comedy, but when they're like doing the whole like this is how you romance a lady dance, and they're each dancing with like a piñata lady or
like some sort of not a mannequin, but not a stuffed animal, like something
a homemade mannequin.
It's something that they
like
clearly they clearly made just for this movie. And it's like, what is this supposed to be in reality, though? But they take turns dancing with it, trying to like, this is how you romance a girl. And then at the end, it starts shifting between like the girls that they like, and they're dancing with it. They get jealous, and then they tear it in half. And then,
I wish listeners could see your face after you said that.
Because I feel like this movie is like okay with the relationship between men and women, but it's hard to watch two guys tear.
Well, I wanted to jump in there and say either you guys love each other, so let's get rid of this mannequin.
Kind of seems to be the case, right? Little challengers here.
And two, you guys are talking about you guys like two different girls. So what are we doing
But isn't that the way guys are stupid?
But they also are literally talking about their shared sex doll that they made by hand. So
no, it's mostly my jizz inside of there.
But I feel like both in their dancing and in just their general like attitude, both Turbo and Ozone, that's where the actors really come alive and do their best job. It's almost like a skit in the middle of the movie. The whole romance subplot is kind of like feels pretty tacked on, and this element of it definitely does. But the scene itself really sings and just has a lot of personality, and I just feel like it makes you feel closer to the two lead male characters.
Andy and Mike, I'm sure this is the last time we'll ever talk about dancing in this episode. So any other scenes you guys want to bring up?
I mean, I mentioned the opening scene already when we were talking about the hospital scene, just that I love scenes like that where it builds, in the Muppets or Every Sperm is Sacred or, 500 Days of Summer or any of those sorts of things where it's just a few people and then it just kind of keeps snowballing. And watching that opening scene when they come out onto the street and start dancing, and you've got suddenly people like doing the worm down the sidewalk, and you've got this lady cop who's giving somebody a ticket and then suddenly starts doing her own moves and joins the line.
But make sure to give the person the ticket before she gets swept up in the dance.
ACAB includes Dancing Lady Cop.
So much of this is like if that Pepsi commercial where
Kendall?
Yeah, had like save the world with a Pepsi. As if that were done ironically, that would be so much of this movie.
Mikey, you got anything else?
I think very enjoyable. Even it's not as big and operatic as some of the ones we talked, but the dance off to the death with the villains of the first movie. And this, and not knowing the lore, not knowing they were the bad guys. It reminded me of Grease, where like, oh, those are the Scorpions, and they'll kill us, and you don't know why. This is just the rival gang, and even though they dress exactly the fucking same, have the same gang colors, they hate each other. And they're going to dance up so hard. And I'm watching, and it's enjoyable watching either side, but they clearly have who's winning in their head, and they look sometimes like they're going to die. They're so pissed. His feet moved a little faster than my feet right there.
Combat.
And where are our judges? Do we have no arbitrators? Like, shouldn't somebody run out and like give points?
It's self-judging. That's why if you just dance harder and smirk, the other team's like, fuck.
Because the other team fully, like, they retreat. They get back in their car and they drive away.
We gotta go before they kill us.
Guys.
I asked my wife, I'm like, how do they know? Who's giving points? Like, how does this work? And she just looked at me and said, oh, they know. So I guess that's the answer.
Shout out to her, because that's the correct answer.
Oh, man, Andy has the same patient wife that we all do. I'm just like, oh, I won't answer your question earnestly.
They're called podcast widows, okay? And they deserve our deepest sympathies.
All right, let's give Greg a point for that.
Yay.
And I would love to talk about Breakin 2 more, but instead we have to go to a little store called Breakin 2 Electric Boogaloo in Shopping Spree. Thank you, Macklemore. That's right. It is time for Shopping Spree, where the four of us are going to run through this movie, putting as many things in our cart as possible. I have randomized the draft order. It is Serpentine, of course, and it is going to go Andy, Ryan, Mike, Greg.
No
one's going to take the cars, Greg. You'll be fine. All right, Andy. This is it. Like, you get to pick anything from this movie. What are we doing?
I'm going to start fairly simple because there were a lot of things that I saw in this movie that just completely reminded me, completely reminded me of my childhood. One of which was one of the little kids that was hanging out with them was wearing it was clearly like a shirt that they made at the shirt store, which is something that my dad would take us to every birthday, and we would get our own birthday shirt, and we could pick, and it was usually like, I'm 5 today or something like that, but we would get to actually pick what we wanted to have written on it, and we would watch the guy press the shirt and everything. And this kid had a shirt that said Lil Wizard, and it was the same lettering and everything. That was like, I had flashbacks to my childhood. I'm like, I want that shirt. It was fantastic.
The Lil Wizard shirt.
Okay. Yes, Little Wizard shirt.
Could you have gotten that in the 4th round? Doesn't matter. You got that Little Wizard shirt.
Dude, when you're chilling with 3 little wizards, you got to watch out, man.
Okay. I have to take this now because it's not. I know I've met the people on this show. It's not coming back to me. I want Miracles to determine.
Damn it!
What the future is of this place. Do I tear it down? You guys don't know, but Miracles is mine.
The whole building?
This is the dance.
That was on my list. That was a good one.
It's solid so cool. Choice. Also, just like if you don't tear it down and let it be what it is, Ryan, if you decide not to be the miser that you naturally are, having a like YMCA style place that does teach singing, art, this is amazing. It's so fucking cool, and we need it now more than ever, don't we, folks? And if you go to popfilter.co/Amazon, you can donate right now and save a kid.
Save a kid.
The idea that they're going to tear this down for a shopping center is also kind of like even more grimly ironic now that the shopping centers near our houses are being torn down all the time because nobody wants to go to them anymore.
Just for Amazon distribution buildings.
Psh, Amazon.
Jeez.
All right, Mikey, you can't have Miracles.
Remember, that's Amazon.com.
Popfilter.co/Amazon for all your shopping needs. Mike, you cannot have Miracles or the Lil Wizard t-shirt. Where are you going?
The one nighttime scene, I think, when we see these young adults who are sweet and teach the youth, the one time we see them cut loose, and what do? The same fucking thing they do during the day, except now it's just with other people. There is somebody on stage that most of them are annoying called the Radiotron Rapper, a.k.a. my friend Ice-T. And in all my notes, it's the Mad Max Rapper. Because his first outfit that night, he looks like a villain from a lost Mad Max, where it's like the studded punk belts, but they're crisscrossed across his chest and an X, and he has this dope like pork pie hat with goggles on it, while he also has giant sunglasses on that are separate from the goggles that his hat is wearing. His outfit rules.
Here's what you do.
You just want the outfit, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Before you go on stage, take off one accessory. I promise.
I have that down in my notes so many times. You know how I know me and Greg are married to women? Because I have in my notes so many times, look in the mirror before you leave, take off one accessory.
One accessory. You don't think it, but you take off one. It'll help you out a lot. Too busy.
So Mike has the outfit of Ice-T, a rapper that the golfer Arnold Palmer has declared is half good. Greg, you are up.
Ooh.
I'm sorry, what, Mike?
I said, ooh.
You got diametrically opposed reactions to that. He was horrified. I was just like so delighted.
Greg.
I don't know if you want to like
No, yeah, I'm
realize
recording
that
it.
point.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah.
So you may have heard me, Ryan, cry out when I got fourth pick.
Are you going to get your first overall pick?
Yes, I was sure I was going to miss this. Not every movie features a bulldozer. Seldom do you see multiple, 2 bulldozers. This movie features, no joke, listeners, you could watch yourself, 4 distinct bulldozers. I would like those full bulldozers.
You're taking all 4?
All 4. You know why?
On.
You know why?
We could each get one.
Exactly. I want to have my 3 best buds over, and I want to have a bulldozer party. But it's not BYO bulldozer because I've got all the bulldozers right there,
cornering the market.
And I don't know, dude. We'll just like go into like a dirt patch or something, just push stuff around. You know we're gonna have a hoot.
I also think this would have worked if you knew we weren't going to draft them. So all 4 rounds, you picked one bulldozer.
Bulldozer.
No, we're gonna give you all 4. Some great work, bulldozer work in Furiosa. We're going to bring that movie up a lot because basically the people in this movie and Furiosa all dress the same. But they put a fucking bulldozer thing on that big semi-truck, and she is good with that. Like, she can catch some people out of the sky.
Yeah. They were like, this is a super weapon. It's like, I don't know how any of this stuff is going to, like... There's like some balls on chains at the back of the thing, and they're like, nothing can defeat this. Not even the guys coming in on paragliders. The most dangerous vehicle in the world. Paraglider attack. Watch out. They're slowly floating in.
Somebody shoots a bazooka at the truck, and she smacks it away with the bulldozer. Or she catches it and throws it back. All right, Greg, it is your turn again.
Oh, wow. I cannot believe the picks I got here. I'm going to have to go anytime...
And I do want you to know all the bulldozers are taken.
I went and I cleared this movie out of bulldozers. But you know what's still available? Nunchucks. That's right. Nunchucks.
Nice.
Just for dancing. Nunchucks are literally the worst weapon ever made. Nobody has ever been hurt by nunchucks unless they themselves were wielding the nunchucks.
What you want to do is you want to hand your opponent nunchucks and then have them kick the shit out of you.
Deal with this. Break your own nose.
Nunchucks were originally conceived of as like a grappling weapon, but you never see them used that way in media. It's always just swinging them around and waiting to hit yourself in the nuts with them. That's usually how it goes. But not when I have the nunchucks, Ryan. I will definitely be able to use them without hurting myself on my bulldozer.
I am going to... I did forget to award a point for the first round, so that is going to go to Greg for... just cornering the market there, a monopoly of bulldozer.
Great.
And those nunchucks are off the board. Mike, what do you got?
I would love the ability to dance on the ceiling as therapy. That's mine.
Hey.
Is dancing
Men
on
need
all
therapy.
surfaces. Men would rather dance on the walls and ceiling than see a therapist.
So you're not taking the
Fact.
rotating room. You're taking the ability to turn any room into a rotating room.
Yeah, where I'm dancing, in canon, Turbo is not in a rotating room. He can dance on every floor and see. Floor's not that impressive.
Mike would like
every
dance
wall
on the
ceiling.
floor.
Mike
Oh my
would like the
goodness.
ability spider climb.
Gotcha.
But dancing.
Dancing spider climb.
Only while
Spider
dancing.
dance.
Right. Can you imagine if Spider-Man had to dance in order to get on the walls? That would make
I
it
saw
really
Spider-Man
interesting.
3. I know how he does. All right. Good pick, Mike. I'm up next, and I have to take that cum-riddled darling we know is that Roseanne Barr-ass looking doll that they fought over. I just want it in my room. She can try on my clothes, and then who knows what's going to happen after that.
I would throw $1,000 that you wake up every night scared because it's just standing in the corner.
She's just standing, yeah. I don't think I remember.
Yeah. How long before she turns into the clown from Poltergeist? You know?
Or the Roseanne Barbaduke. I feel like I could have waited till the 4th round for that one after you guys' reactions, but let's go to Andy with his next pick.
I need a good dance outfit, and from watching all of this,
the clothes are coming now. Here we go.
Yeah, here we go. I absolutely loved. I'm just calling it Ozone's Rhythm Nation outfit that he was wearing at the dance off. He had the little Confederate hat, the little black leather Confederate hat. He had the little shark tooth necklace, and just that whole black outfit with all
dramatic
the chains all over.
Collar. Yeah, and then he had the military insignia.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
What is it about the Jackson family where they were like, look, we're a totally normal family, and also fascism is cool? Like, do you guys remember the ad for Dangerous before it came out?
It was the 80s, Ryan.
So it was just cool?
Yeah.
Well,
people were still
cool,
buzzing off Star Wars. Like, Reagan was taking control of the country with his iron gauntlet. Fucking Margaret Thatcher was fucking shit up across the pond. Like, people loved fashy stuff.
That's the end of round 2, and I'm giving that to me. I got that Roseanne doll, and you guys sat on that.
I'm trying not to think about that, honestly. Right. But I never thought that they were getting busy with that doll. But now that you guys have like made that joke a couple times, remember when it tears the way they both look? I don't know, dude. They both look like they lost a girlfriend. So
confetti shoots everywhere.
Right.
Andy, you are wearing a Rhythm Nation fascist outfit, but underneath that is a little wizard shirt. Where are you going with your next pick?
The next one, now that you're putting all these together, I'm like, should I put this on too? There was another thing that I saw as I watched this. I'm like, I had that when I was a kid, and I loved it because it was something that I would use to scare my cousin all the time. And it was that, I don't know, weird old man creepy mask that would randomly show up.
Why did we have no explanation for that?
No explanation. He had like a big bloody wound on his forehead.
Yep.
I loved that mask when I was a kid. I don't know. I don't remember ever saying, hey, Mom, Dad, can I have this at the store? It just suddenly was at our house one day.
No.
Yeah, I should have worried about it, but I loved it because it scared my cousin to death. So anyway, I would love to have that mask. I'll just throw it on with my whole outfit that I've got.
It fits. It absolutely fits.
It fits too snugly. Now I can't take it off.
Yeah, right.
I was so nervous that Andy was going to pick this. I don't have any clothes yet. So in my Miracles building with my Roseanne Barr doll, I am going to take Ozone's handcuff belt.
Oh,
that is how you take the power back.
Him and Kelly just trade throughout the movie.
There are so many handcuff belts in this. They were like, why have one when you could have multiple?
And I think that like, I'm only trying to pick clothes that I could pull off. You know, I don't want to like get ridiculous, be a fascist or whatever. I could pull off that belt. All right, Mike, you're up.
I want a hospital that heals its patients with the power of dance and porn.
Sexy dance.
I think more hospitals would save lives if that's how they operated.
Hell yeah.
Did we talk about though that guy that got revived through the power of dance?
Yeah.
We did talk about it.
Was not like alive though. It was like Pet Cemetery alive. Like,
yeah,
I don't know if he was fully
Bernie's.
And he hadn't died like for that long either.
Right.
Usually you don't come back so bad if you come right back like that.
Maybe
if you're revived by sexy dance.
Maybe he just hates dance. Maybe he's like the Footloose mayor. Greg, where are we going?
Okay, let's see. What do we got here? Okay, there's so much amazing dancing in this movie, obviously. But what I like is that because they're dancers, they always find an opportunity to do like little flourishes that are like dancing. And I want to take just a one course at Miracles, and what it's about is about exit flourishes. There's like, if they're really gonna like, own someone at the end of a scene, a lot of times they'll go like do like quick hand movements or like like obviously I can't do it, right? I can't even do an approximation of it. I can only make the sound. But with this course, I believe they could train me so that when I like really served somebody, right? Like I was like, I'm going to get out of this dinner. But before I go, I do a real cool thing, like grab the dinner roll and kind of like hit it up in the air and twirl around and catch it. And some cool exit flourish like that.
It doesn't matter what happened before that. People will only be talking about your exit.
Oh, yeah. Do you see his cool arms? There are moments in this movie where they will cut to two people dancing, and they're kind of like, this happened in the combat dance-off, and the only moves they're doing is they're both doing arm movements. And those are the funniest shots in the movie, where two people are doing really hard dancing, staring at each other, and it's both just like crazy arm motions, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, you got to have a Crazy Arms member on your team for that reason.
Crazy Arms, get in there.
All right. I cannot imagine what Andy's about to look like after he gets these products in the mail. So I'm going to give him the award with a point for the
Hey.
Old Man Mask.
Andy.
And speed round. Here we go, Greg. Fast as possible.
1970 Pontiac Bonneville. That is Ozone's car. It's made for cruising. It's beautiful. It's as big as a whale.
What does Kelly drive?
That's a Fiat, but I can't remember.
Fiats are terrible, aren't they?
Yeah, fix it again, Tony.
Could she sell that and help miracles?
Oh yeah, well, maybe get like $4,000.
Okay, so it's not that great. Mike, what do you got?
That's a good amount. I want with my passion, the power to bring a community together and foment positive change in society. That's what they do at the end.
Wow.
You're gonna buy that?
You're
gonna steal it from the movie?
I'm gonna steal from the now Miracles is shut down because I did this. Now it's my power.
I brought a different community together.
Okay.
Community of bankers, land developers.
I'm not good with the ladies, but I know how to fix that. I'm gonna take Ozone's Murphy bed. That's it for me.
Hell yeah, dude.
All right, Andy.
With
last
the big
pick of the
face
draft.
painted on it. I love my outfit, but I'm going to need some for my friends. So I'm going to take the entirety of all the neon outfits from the group in that last sequence.
From like the very last dance?
Yeah. So when I have all my friends over, everybody can put on the neon and we can all just totally be styling.
When I was watching this movie this week, the neighbor came over, knocked on my door, not because the movie was too loud, but just too bright.
The colors.
Yeah, they couldn't handle it into
It looked like you're the Northern Lights.
Can you turn off the rainbow that's coming over my fence? Yeah.
Basically, this last outfit, it looks like the interior of a Taco Bell from 1988.
One chalupa, please. I love the neon. That's going to Andy again. Andy, your team is a Little Wizard shirt, Rhythm Nation costume, Old Man Mask, and then all the rest of the neon outfits for your friends to come over. You open up your closet. You're like, boys, get dressed.
Yeah, boys. Put on
time.
Kelly's jumper.
Going out of the town.
Get your nuts in there. Come on.
I drafted Miracles, the Roseanne Barr doll, handcuff belts, and Ozone's Murphy bed. So I'm doing fine.
The doll and the bed.
Mike, Mike, you drafted Ice-T's outfit, the ability to dance on the ceiling, an entire hospital. That's not going to be run well. And being a liberal person. And then, Greg, you have full...
No, I'm not a liberal because it works, Ryan. It actually will change society.
Greg, you have 4 bulldozers, nunchucks. Jesus Christ. 12-year-old Greg is on this show. The ability to always exit flourish. And a 1970 Pontiac... Bonneville. That's the shopping spree. We have left that movie in dust. When we come back, let's see if there's anything else to talk about. What do we think of the choice to go with dancers as actors instead of actors as dancers? And overall, what do we think of the acting in this movie? The performances are unconventional, but do they end up working in their own way?
If I could take like one part of that first, which is the good part about casting dancers in the acting roles is, do you ever watch some of these movies that are about dancing and then the worst dancer in the entire movie is like the main character? And then everybody in the world of the movie acts like they're actually dancing really well. I'm of course thinking of Julia Stiles from
Save the Last Dance.
Yeah, where she's like, now I'm going to do my dance. And it's like, it's actually kind of like embarrassing.
Which is crazy because when she gets on the table drunk in 10 Things, she's an amazing dancer.
Yeah, that's her style. That's her style.
Legend of the Drunken Dancer.
So
yeah, right.
They had the fundamentals of really good dancing here, and you believed it as an audience, and they clearly, like, that was the priority. But I feel like the acting performances are unconventional, but you root for the characters, and when you get, the way I felt is when you got on the wavelength of the movie, it, like, you feel their personality, and it kind of shines through in a different way than most roles, but you really do feel their charisma.
There are a couple people that are truly awful, and I totally respect how, like, dancing is first and foremost in this movie. It's exploitation, right? It's dance exploitation. Like, they wanted to try to catch success from this wave of breakdancing, and so I think that Ozone and Turbo are spectacular.
Yeah,
I could see them being nominated for awards. Why don't we do that? Why don't we start with a good? Guys, what did Ozone and Turbo or whoever you thought bring to this performance that was like, this isn't like Meryl Streep, but I still love it?
But it is that's Ozone and Turbo, end of list, specifically are the people where you can feel their natural charisma and how much fun these two are having together. When they're apart, it is harder for them because they're bouncing off somebody who's trying in a different way instead of just being magnetic on their own. So many other people are trying to like act capital A and wrong movie, kids. And so anytime Ozone and Turbo together, you're like, yes, these are buds being buds, and I love watching this. And this is the tone the movie should have.
They've been through the shit, Mike. This is their second movie.
That's right.
Of the year.
That is rough.
Well, and I mean, I think in the scope of what we're getting from them, I mean, it totally fits the tone and the style, and I think it's a Golan Globus film. We're not getting in any of their films great acting, so it's across the board. It's like this kind of fits in, and it's like this or Chuck Norris.
Right.
They're all kind of one and the same. And so
this is what made Chuck Norris a star. This is where Charles Bronson went to die. Like, this is that studio.
Yeah, right. And so I think when you have dancers who are acting, I mean, we also have mom and dad and the council people. I mean, their acting is not much better than some of the dancers.
I thought mom and dad ruled, I have to say. I felt like they really understood the brief. Like I feel like they knew exactly
white people.
Yeah. And yeah,
rich white people.
But like when they did so much of the 80s like, oh my word stuff. Like they're both watching the little portable TV out like on their veranda, which is like so 80s, like to watch a TV that's like 10 inches just because it can be outside.
Because you can, yeah.
Yeah, and then when it cuts to them, they're watching TV, and the dad's like, my word, is that Kelly? And the mom leans in, and she's like, it is. I do wish she would do something with that hair. And I just feel like that's like so like, I don't know, sock it to me. Like, that just like, it's a very like almost vaudevillian style like broad joke, but it does work in the context of the movie.
And they have fuck you money, right? In the world of
yes.
Oh yeah.
They've got money.
Yeah, it's funny because the whole thing about Kelly is like she's just lost a job at the beginning of the movie, and the dad's like, well, what are you gonna do? You're gonna go to college? And she's like, I don't know, Dad. Okay, I'm gonna think about it. We're rich. I don't have to really do anything if I don't want to.
Instead, I met a Puerto Rican and a black that I like. Oh boy.
And he brings up their fuck you money when at the dinner, and he's like, no, I know what you people do when you get money. He's dancers, right? He means dancers?
Yes.
Yeah.
He means street people, which is, I don't know how much you are like giving yourself cover with that by just saying street people. In fact, in a lot of ways, you could argue that's kind of worse.
But we all know what they mean. Yeah, I think that every scene that they're in, I sort of push back with Mike. I think that Turbo is such a, I don't know, he's that kind of character that we love in movies where he's like, because I'm the best dancer. And everybody's like, oh, shut up, Turbo. And there's a lot of charisma that comes from that. Shabadoo, again, amazing. I think that who really suffers here are people who aren't dancing at all, like the ex-girlfriend of Ozone. She is like worse than porn level acting here, and it really stands out. Let's talk about Kelly. She is also really struggling here to fit in, and I don't know if her dancing is up to what the dudes are capable of, and her acting is not there as well.
Her style is very different. Her style of dance. She seems like a gymnast primarily. Like, anytime the dance has a moment where suddenly someone does like a bunch of back handsprings and then a flip in the air, you're like, okay, that person is naturally a gymnast. And they're like, I will be in this dancing movie, but you have to let me do some tumbling.
Look, Olympics are hard. Okay. I'm not going to make it. So just let me be in your movie and let me do a couple things. We talked about how the love plot line was added late. Was this necessary at all? Did any part of this work between Kelly and Ozone?
No. One, it was weird. They were like, we haven't seen you forever. And they just smooch. And you're like, that's the kind of friend group this is, I guess. But then he has another girlfriend who's sort of there. And you're like, is Ozone a dick? Is he leading them both along? Like, they have negative chemistry.
Yes.
Kelly and Ozone. I could believe that they are fellow teachers who enjoy teaching kids together.
You know who weirdly has chemistry? Turbo and Kelly. There's a couple scenes where they get like very close to each other.
Yeah,
dude. And it's like, wait, hold on. They should be together.
Yeah, when he's doing his whole, I've got this friend who likes this girl, that whole conversation.
And Kelly thinks it's about her, right? Is Kelly trying to start a triangle?
I don't know.
I think she just thinks it's sweet. Because even though he's part of the original trio from Breakin 1, the movie we all know and love, I think he is like the kid brother to the others.
Yeah,
right.
It is interesting though,
Mike,
the way that like she talks to her agent, and the agent's like, all you used to say was dance, dance, dance. Now all you're talking about is ozone, ozone, ozone. And she says, I just like the way this dude dances.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, oh, so wait, this isn't exactly super romantic. Like even within the world of
Greg.
the movie, it's just like they are buddies who both dance and are attracted to each other. But she's like, I'm not gonna marry this dude.
Yeah.
Plus, what a pre-Captain Planet in the universe or whatever that cartoon was line of being like, all you're talking about is ozone, ozone. Like, guys, we were nervous about the holes in the ozone at that point.
We took care of it, Ryan.
Any straight up villain, and I guess Lucia isn't a pure villain. She's the ex-girlfriend, right? Lucia, the lawyer guy, Randall, and Mr. Douglas. Those three all need to just act. They don't really dance, even though Lucia and they are like Scooby-Doo character bad.
Well, Mr. Randall, is that the businessman who wants to take over?
Randall's like the guy that works with the city and is like helping them orchestrate the plan for how
the guy who you should never say whack to. He will flip out.
No. Mr. Douglas is the main villain.
Mr. Douglas looks like if Howard the Duck was 6 feet tall. If you look at the back of his head, like, and his face, like he's just Howard the Duck from the movie. Okay, so and then let's talk about Turbo's love interest. Who is it a joke that she can never speak English?
Yeah, it's 80s. And I mean, yes, there's a big Spanish speaking community in LA, but I don't think that's what this movie is going for with who I've termed, because they don't say her name because they just meet dancing, the Hispanic pixie dream girl. Is that who that is?
Oh, wow.
It is weird that he doesn't know she can't speak English until right near the end of the movie.
It's Turbo.
But like he's like, I think I love this girl. And then he's like, wait a minute, you don't even speak English. What's the deal?
And she just pops out of cupboards and shit.
Well, that's her magic power. That's one of the things he loves about her. He can dance on ceilings and she can teleport into closets and pop out to surprise him.
Also, what is that, Turbo? Andy. A broken arm and leg 2 days before the big show? No more.
Well, he was in the dancing hospital.
That's her magic power.
Yeah. The story behind her is supposed to be the actress had a very weak voice and they couldn't get her to project in either English or Spanish. And so they decided to overdub her voice. I think there's a ton of overdubbing in this movie anyway. It feels like most of the dialogue was captured after the fact. But there is something about the tone of the character's voice that I don't know if it's supposed to be a joke or something, but like she's got a very baby doll Spanish voice, like that voiceover actress that they chose for it. Very cartoonish. And I just feel like they didn't know what they wanted to do with that character. They knew they needed another love interest, and so it's like tacked on top of being
I could see it being tacked on top of being tacked on, just so nobody thinks that Turbo and Ozone really do,
because they have so much fucking chemistry.
Fuck,
yeah. I mean, the scenes when they finally when they rip the Roseanne Barr doll in half and they start dancing with each other, you can feel the electricity. Like
that's the Electric Boogaloo right
there. That's a Boogaloo right there. All right, so overall, we're saying best performances of any movie we've ever seen.
Exactly.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to take Andy. I don't know if we've ever done this. Take somebody into the Hall of Fame.
Oh, wow.
Here we go.
Welcome to the Pop Filter Hall of Fame.
Here we are in the hallowed halls of the Hall of Fame. Smells, well, Andy, you're here.
Describe the smell.
Yeah, describe the smells to us.
Acrid, but there's an undercurrent of raspberries, so it kind of throws me.
Well, raspberries are in the Hall of Fame. That's not true, but cranberries are. Not the band. The fruit is in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, fuck the band. Give me that sweet, sweet cranberry bog.
Bog.
They're grown in a bog. We can't help it. We've got a lot of Irish blood on this podcast.
You seen the spiders in those cranberry bogs?
No, is that true?
Oh,
They're horrifying.
They're so big.
Oh my
Wow.
goodness.
Some people say it's a spider bog and cranberries just grow there.
Spider-Man, enter the spider bog.
Why do we not have more movies set in cranberry bogs? This sounds like a perfect movie location.
That's true.
No character in this movie has a UTI.
Great.
All right, let's get to it. So we're here in the Hall of Fame. We're going to elect anywhere from 2 to 0 people into the Hall of Fame. These people are that we're electing are the people who made us the threesome that we are. Mike, we're going to start with you. You have to get 3 votes in order to get in. And we're going to start with you, Mike, and then we're going to go right to Andy's response on your terrible pick.
I was, thinking, walking the hallowed halls, being like, who's here, who's not here, and
How
I realized,
hallowed are these?
How they're so hallowed. It echoes forever, and I don't understand what hallowed means. And
Nobody does.
I do think this not only has this gentleman played some crazy important characters in my life. He can do it all. He can be funny. He can be very taciturn and dramatic, but also like life lessons based on him in real life and his characters. He's given us lessons like speak to people in a language they understand. When you're overwhelmed, ask for help. He was a new kind of Starfleet captain. Ethical actions are better than expedient ones. He also played Charles Xavier, and he also gave us a phrase that's just earwormed into my head. I just walk around and go, this food is a little dry. I need my salt and pepper.
Did he also pitch a movie scene where, like, if all of their clothes fall
All
off?
their clothes fall off.
What if all their clothes fell off?
He was on the SNL skit where he bakes erotic cakes, but he just makes every single cake a woman peeing because he says that's the most erotic thing. So people come to pick up their cakes and it's all just ladies peeing.
Patrick Stewart is a gem of a human being. And he
People's
definitely
sexiest
deserves to
man
be.
in like 1992 or something like that.
That's fucked up.
And
Like
he's
a
bald?
50-year-old? Yeah. Dude,
Oh, yeah.
He's one of those
They-
guys who looked
they
the same
were
for
right.
50 years.
They
Yeah.
were right. That a lot of people think Kirk is the sluttiest captain. Picard is the sluttiest captain. He's just an intellectual slut.
I would also like to
Sapio.
list
Sexual?
on Mike's resume for Patrick Stewart, where James Corden was hosting a show, an award show. Have you guys seen this on the internet?
No.
No.
And he comes up there. I think they're both drunk, and he's like, "I accept this award, but also find a better host, not a piece of shit who's never funny ever." And James Corden just has to stand there taking it. Eventually, he comes
Amazing.
up and says, "No one likes you, old man." He's like, "Listen to my crowd."
Man, he was right though, right?
Yeah,
James
no.
Corden sucks.
This is
Oh my
pre
God.
the late night show,
Yeah.
so no, we
Wow,
across the
early.
pond had never heard of him.
Early adopter.
And man, what a
So good.
what a dork hero like that you have selected tonight. Like
He was
Yeah.
also Gurney Halleck in the '84 Dune.
Yep.
he was in the
He
84
carries a
Dune.
He
pug
runs
into
into battle
battle.
carrying the pug.
Carrying
He's
a
a
little
fucking
dog.
legend.
Excalibur, Life Force. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
dude rules. Yeah.
Andy,
No.
your thoughts on Patrick Stewart?
I mean, come on, going from Star Trek to Green Room.
Yeah.
This guy is unbelievable.
Green
I
Room.
love him. He was like, I went to Star Trek conventions to see this guy speak. I mean, I just absolutely love him. Mike couldn't have picked a better person. I say, make it so.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Oh, damn.
That's gonna be tough to beat. Greg, what do we got?
All right. This actress is known for her portrayal of Faith Taylor in Days of Our Lives from 1989 to 1990, but she was also the dominatrix Lady Heather in CSI Crime Scene
shit.
Investigation
Oh, shit.
for 14 years. But of course, she is mostly known around these parts as Julie Cooper. I am talking of Melinda, do not call me Mindy Clark, who was a guest on this show, and the very first thing she did is excoriate you for calling her Mindy. And I have never seen someone derail the podcast in quite the way that she was able to do that. Of course, her greatest role, the mother of CG, also friend of the podcast. Melinda Clark has meant so much to you two gentlemen, and now she's literally a part of our show. And I just think it's important to enshrine her in our Hall of Fame.
Holy moly.
Wow, Greg. Way to know your audience.
Greg was like, I'm tired of getting 0 votes.
Yes,
How do I get
yes.
2 votes?
I'm like, I have to think of a good one for one time.
All right. So I went through the hallowed halls and I looked through all the busts and I could not believe. Oh, Andy, your thoughts on Melinda Clarke? Have you seen Spawn?
Well, that was where I was going to go with that one. Is I have seen Spawn, so I'm not so sure.
John Leguizamo as the clown. You know we love Johnny Legs.
You know, he was the one thing that held that movie up.
Yeah, you can say that about any movie John Leguizamo's in. If it's not an A+ movie, you can just say, well, but there was one good thing. John Leguizamo really killed it in this role.
Tybalt, right? Wasn't he Tybalt?
He was.
Yeah, he was.
He was.
He was the pest. I mean, come on.
What's crazy about that era was Spawn and Moulin Rouge, like Johnny Legs, always playing short people. Where are those legs? Let's get to mine. I walked up and down these hallowed halls, and I could not believe that there was a filmmaker not in the Hall of Fame that I think has the potential to win multiple movies of the year, including this one, the year of our Lord 2024, has a movie that we've all already seen, and I do feel like that it's just such in the pocket of these three idiots that it could go all the way. I can't stop thinking about it, and that's sort of the case with all of his movies. Does every genre and doesn't like turn the genre on its head, but uses the genre as a backdrop to tell the story of what he wants to tell, which is just simple people in Austin, Texas, or some other city around Austin, just doing their thing, maybe going on a walk, maybe talking for hours and hours. Maybe there will be no plot in this movie. Maybe we will play Link now, but why don't we play Link later? It's Richard Linklater, and I cannot believe he is not in our Hall of Fame. Andy, isn't it ridiculous that he's not?
You know, I mean, while not my favorite director, I will say he's somebody who always impresses me for doing things unique in the filmmaking world. And like, what other director has made a film that's 13 years in production? Like, I find him fascinating. Or what's the one that he's doing with I think Defoe?
Merrily
where it's
We
like
Roll
we're
Along.
never going to see it.
Yeah.
Like it's
Well,
it's
you
not
guys
going to
will
be
never
released.
watch this movie.
Yeah, it's like he fascinates me that he keeps trying to do new and unique things. And even when he's doing biopics like Hitman, he's finding different ways to tell these stories. And so, I think that he is worthy of a spot in there.
I think that we have only done one. I think that we did Before Sunset on this show, and that is the only Linklater movie we've done an episode about. I expect that to change. I think that we've definitely avoided his years, but I do think that he has a chance to win multiple movies of the year. And I wouldn't be shocked if Hitman was none of our number one movies of this year, but all of our number twos, and then it wins. I love Hitman. I love this guy.
A lot of fun.
This is the guy who has directed the Before trilogy, Dazed and Confused, and Boyhood, and also the Bad News Bears remake. And
he can do it all.
That, right. Yeah.
the Newton Boys and School of Rock. His career always baffles me, and I'm so excited for it. All right. So, gentlemen, I'm going to tell you who your nominees are.
This is hard.
It's Patrick Stewart, Melinda Clarke, and Richard Linklater. You only have 2 votes.
Strong class.
Greg, we're going to start with you. Patrick Stewart, yes or no?
This is one of those where I'm like, he's not in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, I mean that is a Greg pick.
Mike?
Yes.
And I am a no.
Oh no! Oh,
I thought you might be. I was
This is
worried
when
about
things
that.
get freaking messy.
Ryan, you started making arguments for me.
Yeah, I know. It's because you're my friend.
Oh.
Mike?
And this is because you don't like Star Trek: The Next Generation because you're more of a Voyager guy.
No, I just
That
think
was a huge insult. I just burned you big time.
I think that what Greg did to get 2 votes, to whip those votes, Mike did not even consider me at all. Star Trek is stupid. Mike, Melinda Clarke.
This is hard. I've
And
already
think
let a
about
friend down.
This is the first nominee that might listen to this episode.
And I've let a friend down before when they were nominated. And I said no. And so I know the heartbreak there. I vote yes.
I vote yes. Greg?
Hell yes.
Oh, Melinda Clarke
Yeah.
in the Pop Filter Hall of Fame.
Thank you so much for being on our show, Melinda Clarke.
The first
Great.
person who could also actually come up and accept her award.
They all could.
They all
Yeah,
could.
Great.
seriously.
Greg, that's 2 points for you.
Boom.
And you know what? 1 for Andy.
Andy.
For all of his...
For sitting through all this.
Yeah. How annoying must this be?
Man, but it's so nice because the tracks are going to be right where they're supposed to be, Ryan, so I won't have to move them.
All right. Can't get in, but I will start with me. Richard Linklater is an absolute yes. Greg, Do you have any votes left?
I just ran out of votes is the only thing.
Mike?
Yeah, you run into a rough class sometimes, and Richard Linklater did.
So you're a...
I have no yeses.
No Link now. Looks like it's going to be Link later.
It has to be Link next season.
And Andy, I'm going to give you 2 votes. Does Richard Linklater belong in the Hall of Fame?
Well, he's worthy.
You can bring him up again, but it has to be next season, right?
Yes.
We can't do the thing where I just kept suggesting Tim Meadows for an entire season.
I thought you were going to be like the OC, Spawn, Tim Meadows is one of our favorite actors.
This is a list of things.
So congratulations to Mindy. I'll say it. Mindy Clark for becoming in the Pop Filter Hall of Fame. When we come back, more about Breakin' 2, Electric Boogaloo. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the question that we've all been waiting for. How good of a job does B2EB do at showing us the class warfare of the 1980s streets? Does the movie have more on its mind than it just needed some plot to hang around the dancing? With that plot, of course, being evil rich people out to tear down a beloved neighborhood landmark so everyone has to come together to raise money to save it?
I feel like this movie wants to pretend like it's like it's commenting on things, but it doesn't really want to actually comment on anything.
Well, it's G-rated.
This movie has heard that class exists and race exists.
Yeah.
That's as far as it goes in commentary. Well, these people want different things because they're different. Real important stuff you're saying there, movie. Thanks.
It's like you want to stop every conversation and just be like, okay, I've heard a lot of like these peoples in this conversation. What do you mean when you say these people or those people or street people? What exactly are we talking about?
Right.
At least Furstenberg and Co. are on the side of quote unquote those people. This movie is firmly on the side of the street people and against the good burgerians who want to tear down Good Burger, right? Like,
is that your go-to, Mike? Your go-to? We have to say
that's my go-to
save a thing.
Reference for
or Empire Records.
It's mine, I think.
I love. But by the way, this is not answer this question, but I love that they're like the first things to do to get money. They're like, okay, we'll do a car wash.
Yeah,
it'll be $3 a pop. And then they're like, let's count up our money, and they're like $300. Yeah,
which is pretty
you would
good.
have to do 67,000 car washes to make your money at $3 a pop. Like, obviously, that's not going to cover it, folks.
Look, they have agility. They have costuming skills. Start a heist, guys. Start robbing those banks.
I love how Mike watches every movie and then like puts people onto the back of Marvel Universe cards, and he knows their intelligence, their agility, their stamina.
The thing about this, though, that I thought was interesting is like when I saw this as a kid, I don't think and you know, you're little, you don't necessarily quote see race or things like that, but it's like I don't remember. Like when I rewatched it just this time, I was like, wow, I don't remember that it was a story about this white girl who's hanging out with all of these other people that are from the community that are Puerto Ricans, African Americans. I was like, that was like, I don't know, as a kid watching that, I was like, that was kind of cool that I was watching that as a kid. And just, it was something that was part of my regular movie going that I thought was, I don't know. It was, I suppose, beneficial for me to be seeing stuff like that. So I really liked that element of the story. And yes, looking through it in today's eyes or just even adult eyes, I think that it's not doing its job that well. But I think that there's for the G level kind of kid storytelling version, I do think there is something in here that is, I don't know, it speaks to those younger people who are watching this and kind of allowing themselves to like these characters without even thinking about that sort of thing.
Well, I mean, like, regardless if the movie didn't handle it as well as it could have, you are seeing, for most people watching this movie, you're seeing a different culture than your own. And I'm not saying, like, I just mean by, like, breakdancing. You're just seeing a different way that people live. And Breakin' 2 is not going to keep you from being racist, but, like, a million Breakin' 2s will. Like, if you expand your movie watching, you're not going to be racist. Like, that's just how it works.
It does refigure, like, it's not that people are not divided in this movie along racial lines. They're divided, and they're not even really divided along
it's more about class.
Yeah, but I think that the movie even kind of, like, avoids that in a lot of ways. It's like there's people from the neighborhood, and then there's people who are from like outside the neighborhood, and that people from the neighborhood could be all different races, but they're joined by like this sort of like sense of community that they have with each other more than any other factor.
There's two things going on that I think are really important, that one more subtle than the other. But I think that one thing is that when the movie is sort of trying to say that like when rich people see something like Miracles, which is keeping kids off the streets, having something to do, if we destroy that, they won't have something to do. And then they will do other things and we can put them in prison. Yeah. Like that is sort of like how that part of business works. The less subtle one is how the movie totally backs down on the gang warfare. And it just doesn't have any gumption for like these two dance crews. They barely fight. And then at the end, they're like, of course we're brothers because there's a different, bigger bad guy. Yeah. And I think that's the main one for the movie.
Do you think that's a weakness you're saying, that it doesn't engage more with like the...
No, I think that like that to me seems purposeful. Like they were like, no, we're not going to make these two gangs the villains. We're going to like make them friends.
And you know what that's doubled in? The other girlfriend, Lucinda, she and Kelly beef the entire movie, and then there's a bunch of scenes where they're actively yelling at each other and about to fight, but then like the bulldozers will show up, and then they both are like, okay, time out, and then they go and dance on the bulldozers to stop them.
Because that's part of Lucinda's deal, which is why she is an interesting character. Is it's not just jealousy over Ozone's attention. She's like, you're a rich white girl in my neighborhood. Yeah, you don't fucking belong here. And she thinks she will at any point get up and go. And then what if that devastates the charismatic leader of your group because his girlfriend's gone? And this kind of activism needs a charismatic leader. Like I do think you could put a lot more complications into Lucinda's desires here. And then it takes by the end of the movie, she's like, oh, you stood up to bulldozers with me. I guess you are more than just a rich white girl now.
And when Mike says bulldozers, that is actual bulldozers. That's not like a dance nickname.
And those bulldozers, of course, belong to me. There's 4 of them.
Oh, this rich white man over there.
I have them, and if anybody wants to come play with them, you just have to come hang out with me. It's funny, Mike. It's like one can't even talk about this movie and then like sum up what the characters' positions are without using the words white and black.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, neither one of those words appears even one time in this movie. They literally never say white or black ever.
Great. No, yeah.
That's what gave us the phrase street people.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
And those people.
Mike. Well, I mean, it is, I guess to that extent, though, I mean, it's very much more specifically focused on class, because even by the time we get into the council chambers where we have the city council meeting, there are several African-American people on the council as well. So I think there were very much trying to keep the delineation specifically to class, even though we all know there's more being said with all of that. But in the story, I think that was their intent.
Is it? I can't tell because, like, right, we have like postmodern brains and we know fuck capitalism. But is it bold in Reagan's America in 1984 to be like, the big guy who wants to build a shopping center is evil?
I think so. I think it is like, I mean, it becomes a cliche, and like this is every movie of the 80s. Like if we did every year of the 80s for movie of the year, we would come up across 4 of these per year. Right. And I just think that the movies didn't work enough to change the country, or the movies worked so hard to change the country, like that it did work, that now they have to like keep people from voting in order to not make the country good.
The way things change in movies is like people become aware of what's going on, and then it's like, well, now stuff has to change because there's been this raise in awareness. But in real life, that just doesn't work. That's not enough to like get people to change their ways. And so every movie has like that is about social activism, like Light, has this sort of pat ending where somebody comes in and like cuts a big check, and then it's just all okay.
That, and like it's really easy to focus on one thing like Miracles, but it's very difficult when it comes to focusing on all of homelessness. We're like, well, yeah, but like I want to make sure my family's okay. Yeah. So like that's why these movies work. There's no movie that's like, let's breakdance to solve homelessness. That's difficult.
In real life, they'd want to get rid of that building because it was like lowering property values for the whole area.
All right, you guys know what this sound means, and I'm about to hit it right now. Did you hear it?
Yeah, dude, we know what that means.
That's speed round time. Here we go. Is it at all a bummer to think about how in the modern day real world the city would have just called the cops in to beat the shit out of these kids?
That is, kind of a bummer.
That's a bummer.
Jeez,
So, like, if there had been a scene where they shot these kids with rubber bullets, I think that would have
Just
been.
calling the dudes from Rampart.
But like, for the record, that's a way in which the movies mislead us often. For the record, if you stand in front of bulldozers that have been ordered to tear down a building, the cops will come and beat the shit out of you. Like, that's just how it goes.
It's not like the bulldozer driver's like, I've been here for 24 hours, but she just won't get out of the way. Also, did you guys see when they were, I don't know what it's called, but like scoping out the building? It was just a sniper angle. Like,
The surveying equipment.
Yeah. The colonless Breakin' 1 came out the same year as this movie. How bad did we fuck up by not watching the first?
I think we're okay.
Yeah, I guess I feel the same way. I think we'll make it.
Based on the world thinks that movie's better.
Yeah.
So I don't think we fucked up. This has been a delight. But I do want to go watch Breakin' at some point, which I didn't expect.
But like, I bet it's better in the way where it's like average, whereas this is like so bad that's great.
That's what I
This
think.
is so bonkers.
Because this movie has very much the feeling of they were figuring out as they were going along, which is kind of odd because it's a sequel, so you figure that they already have it in the bag. But I feel like there is a tonal shift about 15 minutes into this movie where they're like, you know what? We're going to have to really lean into the absurdity and comedy of this, which makes me think that the first one is not going to have that same degree of that.
Which it holds the special place for me that is different than Buckaroo Banzai, but it's different than The Room. You know, like this was still a blast in very different ways than those two movies.
Yeah.
Okay, so for this next one, I'm going to set some rules. The next question is, what would your cool dance name be? You cannot say what yours is. You have to designate a dance name for somebody else on the podcast.
I will go with you, Ryan. And I'm going to say Ginger Thunder.
I love it. I'm going to go with Andy, and I'm going to go with Baked Beans Helicopter.
Also his special move.
I'll go with Greg. Groover.
Okay. Like Grover, but dance is better.
I have to say, that's nice. You want to have nicknames like as a crew of like kind of different lengths and stuff. They can't all have the same cadence. So like that's going to be really good for breaking up the sounds. Groover. And
Andy, you have Mike.
That one, you kind of stole mine to a certain extent because I was going to go with Groovanyo.
Oh.
We'll be the crew that has two guys with similar names. Yeah, Groover and Groovanyo.
Andy.
That's right.
Do you guys have similar moves? No, shut up. Don't ask us about it.
People are like, who showed up last night? And they're like, Groover. And they're like, yeah. Anyo. And everybody's like, yeah. He was there. All right, Andy gets 2 points for that one. Everybody else gets 1. Why did the two dance hands wear the same? Okay, I think this is gangs. This is a question sent in by Mike. And so...
Ouch.
Is this like an autocorrect?
If you had read it beforehand, it was clearly Dance Gangs.
Dance hands.
Why do the two dance gangs wear the same colors?
If when dance moves are going left and right and you're trying to pair up with somebody and all you can see around you is a sea of red and black and you don't know who you're supposed to step to. Oh.
I was
also, is it like we don't want to touch the
shields.
Crips and Bloods thing?
Oh.
Oh.
Well, no, because they would be. You're saying that to avoid the different colors thing. Yeah.
So no blue here.
I just assumed it's because what the movie taught us, what they would all eventually learn, is they are the same.
Oh yeah, a lot of wisdom there, Mike.
Yeah, I'll give you a point.
Yeah,
Mike.
Nobody likes it. Nobody's happy with
point
it.
For Mike.
And then finally, in speed round, what would you watch faster? And I want you to interpret that in whatever way you want.
Like
this
it.
or Grease 2?
Oh, this. Wait, Grease
Faster?
2?
Grease 2.
I would watch this much faster.
Grease 2 is
an
an abomination of a movie. Like this movie is so bad it's good. Grease 2 is fucking terrible.
Yeah.
I'm saying Grease 2 I'll watch faster, meaning I'll watch it on double speed.
Double speed. 2x.
You're burnt.
Yeah.
Andy.
Mike, do you have an answer for this question?
Kelly is in Grease 2 also, which funny that you brought that up.
Bra
Is she?
or no?
Who's she? I'm a cool writer, and I need a cool writer. So it's Grease 2 for me.
Greg gets 2 points, Andy
Greg.
gets 2 points.
Mike famously likes Grease too.
I know,
I like
it's
that
so
he
fucking
sticks to
weird.
that.
There's two things about me.
It costs you multiple points per season.
I
and
know.
You stick to
I'm
it.
aware.
And that's so
It comes up
brave.
a lot based on I bring it up. Other people don't bring it up.
Well, he's
So
a
funny.
pistol. Piston? What's the song?
Reproduction.
Uh-huh.
and it's about stamens and pistons, but it's really about teaching the kids to fuck.
Oh wow.
We have to take a break, and when we come back, we're gonna give this movie so many awards. All right, gentlemen, before we give this movie all of the awards, which was, I have to tell you guys, nominated for 0 Oscars.
Oh,
yeah.
Really? Wow. Oh, because Breakin split the vote.
Right.
Yeah.
And
That's rough.
It was 6th and 7th for Best Picture.
Is Shabba-Doo going to win Best Actor for which version?
I think that you should, if you're in 2 movies that year, it should be nominated for this and this, don't you think?
Yeah.
Sure.
His work.
Philip Seymour Hoffman would have won so many awards from like 1998 to 2005. They just listed every movie he was in. All right, we have to give it awards, but let's start with recommendations. Mike, we're starting with you.
I have 2. One, a not so real one and the real one. If you're looking for more Electric Boogaloo, I would say the Minus the Bears song "Get Me Naked 2: Electric Boogaloo" from Highly Refined Pirates. It's a great Electric Boogaloo. And then if you want to know more about this world, which I did, and the minute this ended, we turned on Breakin on the One. It's a 45-minute documentary on Hulu, and it talks about like the 2 crews in New York that ended up performing in front of Lincoln Center, but also kind of helped start the breakdancing craze. And it's awesome.
See, I'm not sure if I want to watch something about breakdancing that doesn't have like hospital nurses and rotating room.
It's also funny because all of them are still alive, right? It was just the 80s. And so some of them look like, you were breakdancing kid. And some of them look like they own a car dealership now. Like they grew up, they're just in like those vests that are supposed to keep you warm for somehow. And but they're talking about it. And you're like, I don't trust that you ever did this.
Andy, what do you have for a recommendation?
If you enjoy this film and you're curious more about like the whole Golan Globus era of canon films and everything, there's a really interesting documentary. Mark Hartley did it in what year did he do the documentary? In 2014, that called Electric Boogaloo, The Wild Untold Story of Canon Films, that goes into like all of the crazy stuff that they were doing with their films and just the crazy films they did throughout. It's a interesting glimpse into all of this type of storytelling that Golan Globus was doing with canon. Definitely worth checking out.
It's possible that I love this movie in part because I watched that doc directly after watching this movie.
Mm-hmm.
But like I watched so many Hitchcock docs and so many like studio era Hollywood docs about, and that makes me love those movies more. This is a fascinating era. I highly recommend this as well.
Yeah.
Greg?
Is it cheesy to like celebrate the movie as a financial win? Because it's kind of impressive the way between these 2 movies, like the return on investment they got on it and like the way they worked to like maximize profits. I know that's not like the most fun thing, especially like with the message of this movie, but it's kind of cool. I mean, they did all right for themselves.
They did, and it reminds me a lot of the story of Marvel Comics, especially in the 70s, where they were like, wait, what's cool? Ghost Rider, Shang-Chi, Moon Knight, and they were like Luke Cage, and like they were just capitalizing on whatever they thought was cool, and it worked, and it came up with like pretty cool stuff,
Yeah. There was a while there where Ghost Rider was really cool. Back when he had a motorcycle. He's in a car now, folks. We don't have time to get into it. Okay. So my recommendation, if you loved, and I know, Andy, you did, the costumes at the very, very end of this movie, lime greens, light neon pinks, maybe like a little bit of yellow, you should check out the Padres City Connect uniforms. I don't know if you were aware, but the last few years, MLB has had what's called City Connect alternate uniforms. I love every single one of them. The weirder they are, the more I like them. The uglier they are, the more I like them. Baseball uniforms are among the most boring things of all time. These Padres uniforms have gotten a lot of shit. They've got the pink in them. They've got the green in them. I think it's fun. It's okay if something fun happens on the baseball field occasionally.
I've read about these on my on Reddit, and people are like really upset about these. And then when somebody asks why, they're like, "What are you, Miami?" Like that's the highest like insult that they can deliver. And no, just be fun.
They're so cool looking, and they're just different, and they don't wear them all the time. And I promise it doesn't ruin Grandpa's favorite game. But the players look like they're having a good time. So check it out. The San Diego Padres City Connect alternate jerseys is my recommendation.
And obviously, Grandpa's favorite game is "You're Gonna Tickle Me Where?" And we don't have to talk about that. But
Jeez Louise, Grandpa, come on.
My recommendation is so connected to this, but not. It's just a very different movie. But I like how it does, how the Venn diagram matches up. And it's a movie that I think I've brought up and recommended a bunch because it's a lost in the pandemic movie. It's In the Heights of, hey, this is a like neighborhood that you've never been in before, and now they're singing. And don't be annoyed by it, but instead be swept up by it.
And
that was the
first
movie I saw in theaters.
That's so cool.
Me too.
Post lockdown,
Me as
and
well.
it was a delight, and I don't know how much is tied to the emotion of being in my favorite place in the world again, but I fucking love In the Heights.
Oh, your favorite place in the world is New York by way of movie theater outside of New York. If I could just be out, but like see it on the screen. But I'm going to give that point to Andy because it is a must-watch doc. Guys, Cannon was a fucking crazy place back in the day.
Crazy, yeah.
Your next award, and we'll go to Greg here, is musical moment. Did you find one?
I did find one. I found one tucked away in the movie. There was a musical moment. For me, this movie, I think, introduced most people to, I guess introduced most people who didn't see Breakin' 1 to Ice-T. Ice-T was also in Breakin'.
And in the threequel.
Yeah, Rappin'.
Rappin'.
He's like the star of Rappin'.
Rappin', aka Breakdance 3, which is in every way possible you're gonna do different things.
But his rap at the end is cool. It reminds me almost of like a Lin-Manuel Miranda flow, his rap at the end, but that's not my moment. My moment is when he's first introduced. That song I really liked. It's got like all the record scratches, but it's also got like a big guitar background. And it's like there's a lot of moments of conflict all sort of coming together in this scene. And so we see Kelly walking in and she's like not satisfied with she's about to like take this job and move away. And Turbo or Ozone rather just like doesn't have the time for her shit because he's got his own stuff he's dealing with and they kind of have conflict. And then the bad boys of dancing come in. And so there's this building swelling of like the record scratches and the guitar and then Ice-T's rapping. And I did not like most of the music of this movie, but I really, really, really liked this song. I thought the way it contributed to the energy and the moment of the movie was perfect.
Typically, you're the guy who's like, I brought a clean record. This one is too scratchy.
Please don't scratch it.
Can you use this one?
And they're scratching each other's records too, which I don't know the etiquette on that, but
Andy, best musical
it was a
moment.
different time in 1984. The hospital scene was just my favorite, but calling out a specific moment of that whole thing. I mean, it's hard to pick a single thing. I have to go to the moment when we have the guy in the OR. We've shouted this out so many times, but I love it so much.
It obviously made a big impression on all of us.
The guy is dying. And suddenly, and we cut like from the music to this dramatic moment in the ER as they're trying to figure out what to do with this guy who's dying. And the guy's like, clear the room, everything. Suddenly, like ghosts out of nowhere, like the girls, the sexy nurses pop up from behind the glass, and then they stick their legs up like we're gonna do a little sexy dance. And then it's my absolute favorite musical moment is that ER doctor who suddenly goes into like the dance shock thing and just
Electric Boogaloo.
Shaking. That's the Electric Boogaloo. And then they start to doing the wave back and forth with each other,
transferring it to each other.
Yep, that was cinematic perfection right there.
I think it stuck with all of us because we're all of the age where like we're getting ready to at some point tell our wives when we're on our deathbed, call 4 sexy nurses, and I will jump back up.
Each on her own bulldozer.
Borrow them from Greg.
Right. I think I like moments like this because I enjoy when something is able to titillate me and mock me at the same time. There is something about the way those nurses are sexy, which is such like making fun of whoever's finding them sexy. And even though you feel that because we're men and we're so animal stupid, you at the same time are like, I have no respect for myself for finding this like joke group of women attractive, but also they are dancing very sexily.
It was like being at a strip club. It's like, you better find me attractive. Also, you're a fucking moron.
You are the markiest mark, and your whole bunch is funky.
All right, Mike, what do you got for a musical moment?
It is I think the title song is called Electric Boogaloo, and it's the opening song, but it's when the post, like, of course, our people, they welcome Kelly back. They're like, let's take her from home to Miracles. But it's when the postman does a backflip. And you're like, this whole neighborhood is going to dance.
The postman only flips once.
And then it does.
No, that's a point, Greg.
It's so good.
The point will never match. I looked at your face the exact moment you heard it, and your face lit up, and I felt so proud of myself.
Okay.
I really liked. We didn't give enough of a shout out because that was awesome. He steals that part. We didn't give enough of a shout out though to the guy working on the phone line.
Yeah,
just throwing it down so hard, like 40 feet in the air.
It's so dangerous.
Yeah, dude, and he's like going for it.
Dude, you want to see how Boogaloo can get electric? Like you're in a lot of danger.
He's dancing on that pole, man.
That is going to go to Andy. Because to point out one part of the hospital scene is just very impressive to me. I thought that musical moment would be like the most overloaded thing, but now we're going to go to 84 fashion, guys. And
shit, dude.
I don't know how you were able to select. Mike, what did you pick?
There's so many, right? So you narrow it down to a character, and then there's so many, right? But I have to say, it's like, what would somebody actually wear still? Maybe. And Ozone, he has this checkered shirt, crop top.
Yes.
The red belt made of bandana, Adidas track pants, and he has like the big Jerry curl in the front. And it's both 80s and ridiculous, but actually wearable out on the town.
How do you dance with all of that? Like, I cannot dance
so well, apparently.
Yeah. Maybe I need more accessories. All right, Andy, what do you got?
Before you leave the house, Ryan, look at what you're wearing. Put on one accessory.
Throw one more on there.
One more bandana.
That's right. Always another bandana. Yeah.
Tie an additional bandana.
In the sleeve, too. So you can pull it out and impress people.
It's funny, you know, we've had a whole movie in the recent years made specifically in 1984 as if that was part of the punchline, talking about Wonder Woman 1984. And the whole, like, the joke in that movie was like, look at all this crazy fashion that people were wearing in the 80s. But what they completely seemed to miss is how neon was so prevalent in the 1984 85 period. Like, everyone was wearing neon. Like, all of this other stuff, like, I mean, we all liked it, we thought it was super cool, but I wasn't going down to the store and buying like these fancy leather jackets and stuff. But neon, hell yeah, it was everywhere. Especially like you get it in like the little painter overalls, and you kind of like get some like little neon painter overalls. Put
some neon underneath your hypercolor overalls, and then
exactly.
you're set to go.
Exactly. That's for me.
Greg?
There's been so many like fashion moments that this movie captures, like all of 84's fashion moments. I mean, like almost every outfit has a headband. Mm-hmm. There's so much of the slutty half shirts for boys.
There were so many people in this movie that would have got shot by the Terminator so easily.
And I am a real proponent of that half shirt for boys. I think that it is, again, I think that men should dress sluttier, and I think that's a great look. But I have to go with the one that Andy brought up earlier, which is the Ozone's outfit in the combat scene. And it's combat, right? That's what they're doing, like dance fighting, and the music keeps saying combat. And so he's dressed for war. He's wearing leather armor, which is a full leather outfit. Dramatic, huge collar, which I just have a boner for big collars like that. And then the Civil War era slouch cap. It looks very specifically like the Confederate version of that.
It is a Civil War. I mean, that's what we're watching on screen.
Yeah. But it's made of leather.
Yeah. But it's made of leather. And then he's got that shark tooth necklace, which I believe is his signature piece, which he does not take off because later his shirt's off a couple times. And he's still got the shark tooth.
Always got
necklace.
that shark tooth. Yeah.
I just thought like every element of that outfit was totally on point. And then when you realize the substance of the scene, like, not to put too fine a point on it, it's not going to win any other awards, but I think that can win the fashion award. He's dressed for combat, and the scene is all about combat.
All right. The obvious winner would have been handcuff belt, seeing as that I'm the judge, and that's why I picked it in the draft. And then second would be their drum major bando uniforms that they come out at the end. But if I have to give a third choice, it's going to go to Mike. For his very specific Ozone checkered shirt, bandana, souffle. We're going to go to cringiest moment next, Greg.
Okay. I think this movie does a pretty good job avoiding cringe. But I will say I felt like the perhaps unnamed, perhaps Mexican love interest of Turbo. I felt like she was just like othered in many ways. And I'll tell you the moment that really earned my cringe is when she walks out of that closet, which I'm not sure if that's just because they didn't want the actress come in and walk behind all the characters. And so they're making a joke with the fact that like they blocked that so weird. But it's already like, that's a weird start. And then when she talks, that like baby doll Mexican cartoon character voice, it rubbed me wrong. And there's not much in this movie that actually caused me to cringe. So I'm going with that.
Also, there's many parts of this movie that made me laugh with the movie, which I was surprised by. Like, I do think that this is a very purposefully funny movie. And this was, I think, a bit that just did not work.
Yeah.
And now.
Yeah. I don't even think in its own time. I mean, it like, and then it really underlines the fact that he like has not spoken to her at all. And then it's just like what you come to realize by the end of the scene is like, oh yeah, because she hasn't meaningfully been a character in this. She's been like a prize or a goal. And instead of like finding some way to not have that end on that note, it feels like it totally does end on that note.
Andy, what do you got for cringe?
I mean, those are all really good ones and probably better than mine. But I wrote down this exchange between Ozone and Kelly that it happens quickly, and it's before she brings them to her house for dinner with her parents and that whole thing. We haven't talked about her crazy quote fiance. But,
oh yeah, Kelly is engaged, by the way.
No, yeah, but it's this line where Ozone says to her, "I don't want to use you," and she just looks at him and says, "It's okay." And I'm like, what are they saying here? What? That was such a strange exchange, but yeah.
Yikes, Mike, what do we got?
Mine is chronologically close to Greg's. It's at the end of the dancing has happened, and we also realize this has all been a hospital prison break. But Turbo, who's our guy? We love Turbo, but he pops out of the laundry and he Woody Woodpeckers at the racist nurse.
That's his thing, I guess.
But why do that? You could have had the easiest escape if you just didn't pop your head up.
Yeah, just keep your fucking mouth shut. Stay in the dirty laundry,
because she was just being such a racist bee.
And he's got a turbo.
Yeah,
Turbo's got a turbo.
It was cringe-inducingly annoying.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. My cringe, if it matters, is that we did see Ozone and Kelly hanging out after like a post dance, and half of a pizza's gone, and yet they both look like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. They ate half of a pizza together. There's no way. But that point's going to Mike for the Looney Tunes-ness of the movie.
Mike.
All right, Mike. Director's signature moment.
I'm gonna be honest, guys. I have not seen a lot of Sam Furstenberg's oeuvre.
You did not see American Ninja 4?
And yet you came on the podcast and represented yourself as some sort of expert.
Disgusting.
Oh my god.
But I do think that the time Sam came to play, we've talked also a lot about it, is the rotating room dance scene. The choreography shown on its own, and then on top of that, there's camera work is actually doing something to benefit the movie. Good job, Sam.
Succinct, and I love it. Andy, what do we got?
You know, I do love the dance scenes, and that absolutely is, I think, a very strong one. I'm going to go with another one, and certainly one that we've made plenty of fun of because it is worth making fun of, and it's the teaching Turbo how to woo a woman dance scene. But I was actually surprised that in that Sam Furstenberg used some interesting intercutting or kind of cutting with the characters where they would do a dip and then we'd cut and we'd be coming up with a different woman or the doll or whatever. And I was like, okay, he's actually having fun. He's really kind of playing around with the techniques and the ways that he was that he could use the two women and the doll in all of that. And it allowed for it to be kind of fun. And I imagine in the scope of the choreography and everything, that probably was one of the more complicated ones camera-wise and editing-wise, just to figure out how to actually do that whole dance. So, that I gave that one the vote for me.
Fairly sexist, but I think that both of you, and it's crazy that they're both in the same room, but both of you are like picking out times where I was like surprised by the director's choices. That doesn't happen a lot in this movie, but definitely for those two. Greg?
I love both of those moments, and I think that we could give him a little bit more credit, the director, because I think he makes some interesting choices, like those ones listed. Mine is going to be when they first, like, they begin the final dance number, or they're just about to begin the final dance number, and Ozone is standing on top of Miracles, and he starts dancing up there to like get everything popping off. And I felt like this movie tries to put breakdancing in different locations and woo us with that. And none was as effective as him up on the top of this building with these sort of like panoramic shots of LA. And I love the dance moves and everything, and the charisma in the scene. So I'm going to go with that one, the dance on top of Miracles.
It's such a good one. It adds to Greg's whole thing of like, so what is breakdancing? But it also adds to the thing I said earlier of, I'm alone. This is not performative. I just need to do this to get myself to the place I need to be, just like the turbo rotating room.
And he seems to legitimately enjoy it, which is probably acting, and he's doing good acting in that
But
moment.
Like Kelly's not there, his ex-girlfriend is not there, like the town is not there.
Right. He's above it all, and that's like what dancing is, right? Like he's in his private space where he's like expressing himself, and ultimately that is the role of dancing for dancers.
Well, it's a great location. I mean, that the place is up on top of a hill anyway, so when he's up there, you got like this great vista. I mean, it was a sharp location to pick for this.
And it's another time where I like watch him dancing. I'm like, I could do that, and then I get up and do it, and I'm like, well, I cannot do that at all.
Also, again, a kind of savvy business decision. It's like L.A., middle of the day. You're not going to have to like light that. It's like, you know,
right.
All right, Greg. Pound for pound performance in a movie that we've talked a lot about. These performances are stylistic, stylized.
Yes.
Who do you think did the best?
Well, I think even though they have so much screen time, so the spirit of pound for pound might not count. The two main guys, Ozone and Turbo, you got to pick one of them. And for me, I'm going to go with Ozone. Adolfo Quinones. I'm sorry, I'm saying that so stupidly, I'm sure. But Shabadoo.
You nailed that one.
He has rough moments. I feel like when the dialogue is more expository, he's not quite sure what to do with it. He chews on it a little bit. But the moment, like the dance scene with him and Turbo, you see the personality that probably launched this movie. Somebody saw this guy and went, you have to be...
It's unfair for all the actors because, like, are we making a skate film? Like a dance film that's like a skate film, like back in the day where people would just... That was it. It's just like follow skateboarders, or is this a drama or a comedy? And so him balancing all of that is hard. But yeah, I think he does an incredible job. Andy, what do we got?
I mean, as much as I feel like, they're the ones that are certainly the easy ones to go with, Ozone and Turbo. But just to do something a little different, I'm gonna shout out Lou Leonard, who plays the head nurse. I think that
hell yeah,
there's nothing more enjoyable than watching a grouchy nurse, and I mean she's one of these heavier set actresses who ends up in these sorts of roles. Who is playing this sort of like I think she's a waitress in Starman the same year, like Roadhouse.
Oh yeah,
waitress.
like a staple through the 80s.
Yeah,
of just
she's
like
total
this
staple
person.
And she's grumpy about everything that's happening, and then suddenly she starts breaking out and doing her own moves and everything, and that was fantastic watching her get down and do that. So Lou Leonard.
Mikey?
I agree with Greg. It's Shabadoo is, it's not just does he say most of the dialogue better than most of the people in this movie, but it is, he as a dancer is like, now this is the light and fun moment and I'm teaching the kids, and you can see his mentoring in dancing and he shows that emotionally. And here it's like kind of sexy dancing at the nightclub. And then here he is a freedom fighter revolutionary. That the start to the ending set piece is fucking phenomenal. And you buy into why a neighborhood would follow this dude who dresses like this.
Move.
Yeah,
he totally does.
He does.
If you were to just take the balance of his comments, he's been so positive and effusive. Like not just like saying positive things, but like with a lot of spirit.
At least his wife is not recording with us, because then he would have still hated it. All right.
I don't like this reputation.
Yeah. Mike's uncomfortable.
The obvious winner is Turbo, but I'm going to give it to Andy for not...
No, he Woody Woodpeckers and he lost it there.
going with Ozone. We're going to take a break. I'm going to count up all the points, and when we come back, let's talk about who won and who will win in the future. Gentlemen, that is the show. Thank everyone for listening. I do have the scores here. Mike, You came in with 44 points.
Dang.
Is that pretty good?
I think so, especially because you did a rope-a-dope, and I thought I was at 20-something.
I mean, you're in third place, but 44 points is good.
Also came
That's
in
a good
with?
third
Does that mean he
place.
started with that many?
Yeah. I've been texting Ryan real nice things all week.
It was so close. We knew that Mike was going to lose.
Yeah.
But it was so close for who was going to win. Greg, you ended with 50. Andy, you ended with 52 points and are the winner this week.
Congratulations,
I need to
Andy.
drop on the floor and do the windmill right now.
If you could just learn the worm.
Yeah.
Next season when you come back, if you could do the worm the entire time you're podcasting.
We'd love to have you back, Andy, provided you learn how to do the worm.
It's not
One stipulation.
The movie is permanent midnight, but
and we said the same thing to Pop Filter Hall of Famer Melinda Clark.
Yeah.
Like, learn to do the worm.
That's right.
We have so many. We don't. We have a few incredible movies left from 1984. Coming up soon is Beverly Hills Cop and Amadeus in Nightmare on Elm Street.
is it that few?
That's it.
Holy moly. I'm not ready.
Endgame.
We have incredible guests like Jordan Crucchiola and Katie Walsh from the Los Angeles Times. Heard of it?
Yeah. A pretty big local paper, Ryan.
The young gray lady. It's a big deal. I'm so excited. Andy, thank you so much for being here and winning. Can you tell us where we can find you?
Yeah, I mean, thanks so much for having me. I had a blast talking about this movie. I'm glad I had a chance to, a reason to revisit this movie. It was so much fun.
Do you own it on DVD?
I kind of want to buy the Shout Factory disc now to throw onto my wall. It's got both movies, so it's like, yeah, hell yeah.
That's an incredible value.
Yeah, right? No, it was a blast. You can find all the stuff that Pete and I do over at True Story FM, truestory.fm. We do the Marvel Movie Minute. We have our movie show, The Next Reel. I have another movie show that I've started up recently called CinemaScope, where we talk about genres, subgenres, and film movements with guests. And, Pete does a horror podcast, Sitting in the Dark. We do a Movies We Like podcast that we have with guests who work in the industry talking about their favorite movies. And so, just tons of conversations about all sorts of entertainment. And we have a blast doing it. So truestory.fm, you can find all of it.
When Pete was on for the Terminator episode, he said that he was going to have us as guests for all of those podcasts. you wish he did not say that.
Bring it on, I say.
Oh, I would love to do Bring It On with you. That's one of my favorite movies.
Great
I
movie.
heard it's already been brought in.
Oh, God. Consider it brought. Mike, I know that you aren't going to give this any Moody Awards for performances or whatever, but like musical moments, do we think that it has a chance?
Music moments duo, perhaps.
Oh, yeah, duo.
Shithead.
Just me and Greg for liking this movie.
Yeah, exactly. You two fucking doofs.
And Greg, what a journey we have come through. A week ago, we had not seen Breakin 2 Electric Boogaloo.
It was an exciting discovery. I mean, the name of the movie was the only thing I knew about it, and I had guessed that it was one of the worst movies ever made. And I had a delightful week. I watched it probably 4 total times, and it was a great experience. And part of what is good about this show is it makes us really sit down and really pay attention to these things.
I think Greg liked this movie more than Stop Making Sense.
Yeah, which is infuriating.
I don't think that's true. Okay, I don't think that's true.
Greg, me and Mike are talking about your opinion.
I think the gulf between my expectations, this is one of the biggest jumps in what I thought I was going to see, especially after the first 15 minutes of literally watching the movie. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I have to keep watching this. And then it won me over. And so I think that a lot of my enthusiasm comes from that difference there between what I expected and how much I enjoyed it.
All right, listeners, there it is. Please stick with us for the rest of 1984 and the big finale where we choose the #1 movie of the year and the reveal of what is next season. Andy, we'll tell you that off air.
Ooh.
We can't tell the listener. But for Andy, for Mike, for Greg, I am Ryan, and please, as always, keep watching.